This is 433 and beyond, where we go, what we collect, and what we notice together. I'm Andrew. I'm here with my daughter.
I'm Arwen.
So Arwen, what are we going to talk about today?
We're going to talk about the national park system.
What it is, like, what do you mean? Like, why is that a difficult question? Why
Yeah,
isn't that just
we're going
an
to talk
easy
about
answer?
why that is not an easy answer. Most people, when they think of the national parks, they think of the 63 big national parks.
Like Acadia,
Like Yosemite.
Shenandoah.
Hush.
He wants to go hiking
my
in the
dog.
national park.
The Grand Canyon, Yellowstone, things like that. Those are their own distinct national park classification. It's not wrong to think of those as
What are they actually?
As a
So
group.
I didn't realize that. So
those are called national. Those are the national
the
parks.
national park.
If you talk about the national parks, that is what you're talking about.
So why is our channel called 433 and not 63?
Because there are 433 official units in the national park system. There are 63 national parks. Those are big. Those are their own classification of units within the national park system. But if we take a step back, the National Park Service actually owns and administers a lot more than those 63 national parks. Those are special because they have special designations and special kind of funding mechanisms that we're not going to worry about or talk about today. But
Not today, but maybe. Do you want to answer the congressional
Ganoush
question?
would like to talk about congressional funding of national parks.
But it is actually a national park.
Yeah, those are,
National
it's not
park.
wrong to group those together. Those are the 63 national parks.
But a national park.
But the
service
National Park
unit.
Service actually has 433 official units, which is why our channel is called 433 and beyond. That's a number that changes. They do add units to it. Things get moved around. And that includes the 63 national parks. It also includes things like national battlefields or national monuments, national military parks, national recreation areas. And those are all part of this 433 number.
Administered by the National Park Service.
Administered by the National Park Service. So, for example, in Philadelphia, Valley Forge is a national park site. Independence Hall is a national park site. It's not one of the 63 national parks, but it is in your national park passport. There are national park passport stamps available.
So what comes to mind? It makes sense that a state park wouldn't be part of our scope of interest. But I think what will be interesting when we get into is a national park affiliate site that isn't part of the 433. That's an interesting distinction that we'll get to.
Well, I think there's a few things you can keep in mind, right? Like, there are 63 national parks. That is a useful number to have. That is also a number that can change. Within the last decade, I think in 2017 or 2018, I'm making that number up, but 2 national parks were added. Like, that is a harder number to change, but still a number that changes. You can hear our dogs.
We're going to take your dog to a national park and tie him up on a tree and leave him.
No, we won't. So what that 433 number does capture is the national park units listed in the collector's edition passport and the national park units eligible for the annual sticker or stamp that they release. And we'll get more into what those things look like and what they mean. But that 433 number is useful really only from a national park passport perspective, I think, because it doesn't accurately capture everything that is beautiful near you, because you have state parks, you have other natural resources that are not administered or owned by the National Park Service.
And that may have
And
a
that may have a
cancellation,
stamp.
right?
Exactly, and we'll get more into that. But it also doesn't even capture all of the sites that are affiliated with the National Park Service. It captures most of them, and it's not immediately evident what qualifies something as one of those 433 units. I'm sure that there is an answer, but it's not immediately obvious. There are 32 affiliated areas, which an example of that is the Pinelands in New Jersey. There are 27 national trails, like the Lewis and Clark National Historic Trail is not one of those 433, but it is affiliated with the National Park Service. And there are 62 heritage areas, like Niagara Falls is a national heritage area and not one of the 433 units. And I'm sure the reason is economic. I'm sure it's that they are funded differently or that they are staffed differently. But on a practical level, if you want to say, hey, I want to go to all the national park, everything listed on the National Park Service website, you're going to find things that are not part of that 433 units and that are still affiliated with the National Park Service. And you're going to find it's not easy necessarily to figure out.
So Niagara Falls isn't in the collector's book.
That is a good example. So Niagara Falls is a National Historic Area. There is a cancellation stamp that you can get there. If I was planning a trip to New York State and I thought, oh, hey, why don't I get some stamps in my passport while I'm there? Why don't I go to some national parks? I would assume that Niagara Falls is a National Park Service unit. And you can go to Niagara Falls, and at Niagara Falls there is a passport stamp for your national park passport. It looks like all of the national park cancellation stamps, which we'll talk in more detail about in another video. But if you go into your collector's edition passport, it does not have a spot. And Niagara Falls, as it stands right now, will never be featured on one of their annual stickers that they release.
So you kind of have to make a decision. Some of you may need to make a decision before you start. What is it that you want to collect? Do you just want the 63?
Yeah.
Do you want 63 and everything in the Philadelphia region? Do you want every Civil War battle memorial? You know, if depending on the answer to that, you're maybe disappointed in the passport, right?
Yeah, and
not just disappointed, but frustrated.
Not just disappointed,
Driven
but frustrated.
To distraction.
Because if you get the passport thinking, particularly the collector's edition passport, I think the smaller classic edition passport is a lot more flexible. It has its own issues.
Because it's smaller.
If you are a completionist and you like having a goal and you like being able to say, I went to everything in this book, the collector's edition is perhaps a good option for you, but perhaps not, depending on, or you just need to make a decision.
Because the book doesn't match reality on the ground. When you go to a place, and these are things that we're going to be talking about for the next 10 years, but like let's say you go to Shenandoah National Park, which we're going to go to in April. There are at least 2 official, depending on which visitor center you go to. Which one are you going to get? Do you want all of them? I mean, right on if you do. But
there's one spot for one stamp in this passport book. So there's an opportunity to make a decision here. I think when you think about all 433 national park sites, it can be a great inspiration to go on more adventures with people you love or on your own. It can be a great inspiration to get out and see places that you wouldn't otherwise see, or spice up a trip that you're already going on by making additional stops at these, beautiful and or important sites. And maybe that's all.
right.
That's fine if that's all that is to you, is like a resource that you can pull from
And get a stamp whenever.
You want. Maybe you just want to get stamps whenever you want. I think the question that gets raised with the National Park Service, thinking about the units, the 433 number, is where do you want to go? Maybe you want to go to all 433 of those units. And that's great. You should know that it's not going to automatically mean that you're going to every national park site, every National Park Service site. That's okay. If that is okay with you. If you want to go to everything near you, that 433 number is not necessarily the most useful number. Or if you want to go to everything in your state or on a trip, that 433 is not necessarily the number you want to use. Maybe you just want to go to the 63 national parks. That is a perfectly reasonable and appropriate goal and a good one. And we encourage you to do that. But then in the store, you should not be fooled by the collector's edition passport. It's not what you want. It's got hundreds of things that you're not interested in if you just want to go to the 63 national parks.
And depending on what your goal is, it will not have things that you do want
Yes,
because of how they define a unit and how things
because
are
of how they
considered.
define a unit, and because of how this book is designed and how
Yeah.
they've thought of it.